Damage Step here with another Edison video with LDS Raleigh coming up in 2 days. I'm very excited for it because Raleigh is like my backyard, so I will be there. Um, yeah, hopefully I can play. I didn't get a early entry, but I'm hoping I can get there early enough to squeeze in. So yeah. I guess in this video I'm just gonna go over like the best decks in Edison and kind of go over the matchups and like discuss which decks are good against which decks. Because I believe now, like it used to be a triangle format with hero frogs and black wings and value, but now we have gladiator beasts that made a comeback. Which the deck was never bad, I just think people stopped playing it as much. But Simpson brought it back on the map. So yeah, so that I think it's gonna be a contender that you have to watch out for. I think that there's gonna be more than just a few Glad Beast players. I don't think it'll be half the room, but I think there will definitely be a good amount of people playing Glads. Obviously, there'll be your regular Blackwing players, and I think Blackwing is still a very solid deck. So yeah, I think the best decks right now in Edison would be Blackwings, Value, Glad Beast, and Frogs. I'm just gonna say Frogs in general, like whatever Frog variant you want to play. I think they're all pretty good. I'm not a big Frog fan, but I think if you're good with the deck, it's obviously a very good deck. And I think Lightsworn is also a very good deck, but obviously it has problems with the milling aspect, the randomness of the mill. That's why it doesn't actually win any majors. I think it's a very good deck, don't get me wrong. I love Lightsworn, but it has issues. So I'm only going to talk about the best decks. I'm not going to talk about all the tier 2 and tier 3 decks, because we already know. We know most likely that the winner is going to be Blackwings or Value or Glad Beast or Frogs, most likely. Now, if you can win with Lightsworn, that's great. You know, that would be something different. I just think the deck is flawed. I think that it has a weak GB matchup for the most part. Obviously, it can be very good. You know, threatening, stopping GB attacks. If you go first and like Jane threatening and then you Celestia next turn, like, yeah, you're usually going to win those kind of games. I think my body's really good against GBs. Cold Wave, obviously. Yeah, the deck obviously can win, but I think it's more of a luck deck than other decks. So, and the consistency with the wolves, and there's just a few things that hold Lightsworn back. And hey, maybe you can make it to the top with the deck. Twilight, same thing. It's bricky, but it's very powerful. So yeah, but I'm only going to talk about like the big four. So let's get into Blackwings first. Obviously, I've done a lot of testing in the past few days, and I've kind of figured out like which matchups are good against which. So Blackwings are pretty solid against the GB matchup. It's also pretty good against the Frog matchup because of, you know, the piercing and they don't play as much back row, so it's easier to kind of just swarm the field and do a lot of damage really fast against Frogs. Against Value, it's like 50-50. Honestly, it's whoever draws better, because Value can just sack the shit out of you. But Blackwing, you really can't go wrong with this deck. I'm considering playing it myself. It's just so solid. Especially if you're a good player with the deck. It's hard to go wrong with this deck. I think it's the most consistent deck out of the entire format. Especially with the upstarts helping your hands, improving your hands, seeing Whirlwind more often. Yeah, I think this deck is very good, but again, it's, you know, everybody knows how to play against Blackwings, so it's like, it's 50-50. If you're a really good player, you'll probably do very well with this deck. I have tested it against GBs, and it's 50-50 because we play so many beaters, and GBs struggle with that. Especially if you go first and you just set up a really strong board, it's hard for GBs to get past it. Because if you can set your Icarus before they set Trap Stun, you're in a really good spot against them. Because they pretty much have to have the road, or they're pretty much, it's GG. If you go second against GBs, it's a lot harder. It really just depends on their opening hand, though. So, yeah, I feel like it's becoming more of a dice roll format, because, like, it's really hard going second, but going first, if you open well, you'll probably win, for the most part. But yeah, so Blackwings, it's 50-50 against GBs. I think against Value and Frogs, I think the Value matchup can be tough, you know, depending on their hand. But if they just set Value and pass, then, like, obviously you're going to be in a really good spot. Yeah, Blackwings can struggle with the Hamster and Raikou, so that's why I say the Value matchup's a little hard. And then Frogs, I think it's okay, maybe 45-55. It's an okay matchup, depending on how good their hand is. Because we have Icarus to deal with the Do block. Yeah, there's not too much to say about Blackwings. It's a solid deck. I wouldn't blame anybody for playing it because it's safe. I think it will do very well going forward. And let's talk about, I guess we'll go with Frogs next. So, it doesn't matter what variant, Frog OTK, Dream Frog, Hero Frog, they're all good. It just depends on how well you know the deck, which I'm not a Frog player. I can play the deck decently, but I'm no pro at playing this deck. I think it has a bad GB matchup. I think it struggles a lot, and that's going to be one thing you have to side heavily for if you're playing this deck. You better expect to play at least 1 or 2 GB matchups. I think it has a very good Value and Blackwing matchup because of Caius. It's very hard for those 2 decks to deal with Caius and Raigeki breaks and just, yeah, Treeborn coming back every turn. I think it has a pretty good matchup against those decks, and obviously this deck has proven itself many times, so yeah, I think the only real weakness for this deck is Glad Beast, so I think this is a very good contender, as long as you side heavily for Glad Beast. You may want to consider, this is a card probably many people don't remember, but Mirror of Oaths. This used to be sided a long time ago for Glad Beast. When your opponent special summons a monster from their main deck, destroy that monster, and if you do, draw 1 card. This card is insane against Glad Beast, but it's only good against a Glad Beast, so you might just want to side 1 or 2 copies at most. And it also loses the Trap Stun, so you just have to consider that. But I think Jujutsu Master, I think it's just too slow against Glad Beast. But you can side it if you want to. It's not a bad card. But most of the time, they're just going to Prisma Test Tiger you, or they're not going to attack into it, most likely. So, then it could be good, though, because they could think it's a Treeborn Frog and attack into it. So I don't think this is a bad card to side against GBs. But yeah, there's a few ideas for you. So, yeah, definitely a solid deck to bring to the tournament. We've already talked about Lightsworn. Oh, another one I wanted to kind of talk about is Machina. I think this deck, just the standard Machina deck like this, that plays a lot of traps, I think it's somewhat favorable against GBs. So this is not a bad deck. I think that there will be a few of these running around the tournament. Yeah, this actually has a pretty good GB matchup. If you go first and set like Hamster Raikou or Summon Gear Frame, set Compulse, you're going to have a really good time against GBs because they can't really get around any of these monsters, especially going second. Like if they go first and they have Chariot, yeah, but Chariot's only 2 cards out of 42. So I think this deck is pretty solid against the GB matchup. You have a lot of big beaters. It's hard for them to deal with all these big bodies, and it plays a good amount of trap. All these traps are very good against Glad Beast, keeping the monsters off their board so they can't Gyzarus you. Yeah, I think this is solid. And the crow, you can crow their bestiari whenever they dump it to the grave. They wouldn't see that coming. I think this is a very solid deck. I don't think it has any really bad matchups. Yeah, just an idea. I used to play this deck. It's very solid. I've done well with it. Yeah, maybe just side a few things for the Glad matchup, because if they go first, it can be difficult. But that's with any deck, so definitely a good contender. Let's see. So we'll talk about value. It could be Nitro, it could be regular. I think that regular value is probably better against the GB matchup. And I keep talking about the GB matchup because I think that's what we need to be most concerned about going forward. Because obviously it won Worlds and a lot of people are going to be playing that deck. I think Value has a pretty bad GB matchup because just T setting and passing is almost a death sentence against GBs, especially if they Gyzarus you and you can't stop it. And then if that happens, they just start picking away at your graveyard with Retiari, and you just kind of lose slowly. Like Gores, it doesn't save you against GBs. Necro, they play double Sam Knight now, so like Necro doesn't even save you. It can, but I just don't think it's enough. I don't think summoning Arma, dumping Necro, setting a trap I just don't think that's good enough against the GB matchup. They're going to eat that deck alive. So obviously if you draw well, you can beat the GB matchup. I just think that it's not favored for value. I think Deck Devi's also not that good against GBs because they want, they play like what, 6, 7, 8 cards that you can Deck Devi, and they want the best C in the grave anyway. So yeah, it's not that good against that deck. Icarus, I mean, if they trap stun you, obviously that's bad. But you can chain your Icarus to trap stun maybe. I don't know, I think obviously value has proven itself in the format, but with GBs on the rise, I would say just maybe, you want to side deck something for the Glad Beast matchup. So, yeah, there's not much else to say about value. I mean, we know the deck, we know it's good, just be ready if you go against Glad Beast. I think the Hamster Raikou build might be better going forward. So, because not playing real traps against GBs just isn't that good. So yeah, that's all I can really say about that. And let's see. So lastly, we have everyone's favorite, the Gladiator Beast. Yeah, so the Simpson 42, he put it back on the radar, which this deck has always been good. I mean, it got second place at Orlando last year. It's won a couple majors. It's top consistently, even though not that many people are playing it. It still does well. At almost every event, there's like a Glad Beast in the top, so clearly there's something to this deck. I think a lot of people just don't want to play it, or they don't know how to play it, or it's just not their favorite deck to play, so they stay away from it. A lot of people rage quit. Whenever I play this on TV, they'll just rage quit on me, which I get it. It's not fun getting guys Edison trap stunned. But it is a very powerful deck, and it is a real deck, and you better be prepared for it, because it doesn't have any really bad matchups in my testing. That there's no deck that completely wipes the floor with this deck, and there's also no side deck cards that completely blow this deck out. So most of your side deck cards for this deck are going to be 1-for-1s. So yeah, this is a very good deck. The triple trap stun is very scary. Yeah, there's not too much to say. I mean, if they go first and they set a bunch of back row and a Laquara, you're probably dead. I think that frogs going forward need to play more soul exchanges, because if they just summon one, set a bunch of back row, you soul exchange, then you can kind of just start doing what you want to do with no fear of chariot. Start eating away at their back row. So yeah, I mean, I think there's just going to be a few shifts in the metagame. There might be a few card choices that are different, with this deck being more on the radar now. Yeah, I think Black Wings has a favorable matchup. I think it's 50-50 though in testing so far. It seems to be half and half. It's basically whoever goes first and sets up their board. Against value, I think Glads are very favored. Sorry to the value players, but it's just hard for value to deal with the constant Retiari, the trap stunning, your returns, your bottomlesses, your deep prisons, and then they can, once they stop your back row, they can but GBs can do whatever they want, so yeah, it's pretty difficult. The War Chariot stopping your Armos, your Raikos, Greffers. I think GB's only bad matchup would probably be Blackwing, and maybe the mirror match, but they side brain control, cold wave for mirror match, certain things that help against the mirror match. Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to the best players in the room, the most skilled players in Raleigh. I think not misplaying is going to be a big deal. Just playing very well, getting enough rest, staying hydrated. Yeah, I'm excited to see everybody in Raleigh, and good luck to everyone playing in the main event. I will be there early Saturday morning, and yeah, hopefully I can get in. I would like to play and do well. I don't get to play that much because I have 3 kids and a wife at home, so it's hard for me to really get out much, but since Raleigh is really close to me, then I'm going to this one. And yeah, good luck and have a great day, duelist. Peace out.